Well, it's 7 o'clock. Welcome to this special edition of talks about the future. And this time we're going to talk about the future in one particular field, but one of the most important in our lives. What competences will we all need to make the most of what the future brings? What will the new world require of us? How to understand it, even how to understand it even before it knocks on our door. And the future is indeed around the corner. By the way, we actually saw a good part of it yesterday with the American launch of this space commercial mission with 2 astronauts set into orbit. I think personally that this direction, the cosmic direction up there, can have more influence on our future than many people may think today. So there's a very good reason to ask what competences will be crucial in the 21st century. What are they? How and where can you define them and develop them? These are the questions that need an answer, or at least a good discussion. I'm joined today by Amy Steinmann, Consul General of the United States in Poland. Hello. Who's with us?
I must correct you. I'm the Public Affairs Officer at the U.S. Consulate in Krakow.
Good. That's even better. Right. Nice to meet you. And you are in Krakow, in fact. Allyson Daly, Wayne Community College, and she's with us from North Carolina. Hello.
Hello. Thank you. Thank you for welcoming me.
Don Allen, Director of English Touring Theatre Company in Krakow as well. Hello.
Hello, and thank you.
Anna Krzemińska-Kaczyńska, founder of WorldLINK Foundation. Hello.
Good evening from Poland. Thank you for having me.
And Alina Deja-Grygierczyk, founder and director of Polish Academy of Canada, surprisingly joining us from Berlin. Hello.
Hi, hello.
Hello. Welcome to all of you. We're also, ladies and gentlemen, waiting for your comments and questions, which you can write and send to us and share with us, share with everyone, just under this broadcast that you're watching at the moment. Okay, so let's start. Oh, by the way, have you actually watched the event? Did you watch it yesterday? How the rocket was sort of rising up?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm asking this, perhaps it's a bit off the topic, but it was, for me, it was so inspiring that I just wanted to pop this question, because I think it sort of wakes up this spirit of scientific exploration. That's very, very useful for the topic that we're going to discuss today, don't you think?
Yeah. It was very exciting to watch it, and it's quite it's just fascinating and awe-inspiring seeing these 2 people propelled into space and all the stuff that goes with it, and to get people there. So it was wonderful, and you're a bit nervous just in case something does go wrong. Thank goodness nothing went wrong, and they made it, which is great.
Yeah, I saw a bit of a future there. So perhaps navigating a rocket will be one of the competences that will be needed in the future, but there are a few others. And so let's try to discuss them. What do you think is today the most important competence, or a set of competences that we should look out for if we are students, if we think about education, if we think about our career paths in the future? Perhaps Ania Krzemińska could start.
Well, thank you so much. I think that generally the rules for getting ahead have been changed. Yesterday, definitely, that was a blast. And with our students, we were watching. They were even sending messages. Okay, please watch. Okay, what has happened? Yeah. We had a great honor also to visit NASA in Florida and see everything. Okay, how it goes and how the history has been done with the references to launching into the orbit and being there. When it comes to competence, okay, I think that yesterday we could see also, okay, what has been taught and also has been mentioned by a famous even philosopher, Alvin Toffler. Probably you know this one, that elite of 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but he said that those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. So I think that to succeed today, we must be in a constant state of adaptation. So continually unlearning old rules and relearning new ones. So learning agility is the name of the game, I would say, to move quickly and easily. So have the ability to think and to understand quickly. This is so important nowadays, right? I cannot imagine, the change without the teamwork. Now, during the COVID-19 disruption, you can see how important it is the trust and to rely to one another.
Right. Okay. Right? Thank you, Allyson. What do you think?
I would add to what Anna is saying that in addition to being able to understand, and students will have to, in order to be able to educate people, we will have to look forward and we will have to see what students will have to be able to do. And in order to be adaptable to that, we have to look forward to what they will do. And those things are solving big problems that are complex, and they're not just isolated into certain disciplines. So for example, the COVID-19 problem, or even going to the rocket launching to space, these are things that don't just take the sciences, they take collaboration across borders, understanding people from different cultures, as well as knowing your content area. So collaboration is going to be key.
Yeah, but I know, of course, it is. But I just wanted to make sure, are we not teaching enough of it at the moment? I mean, aren't we aware that it is so important, the multicultural collaboration, cooperation, and so on and so forth? Are we not enough on that path?
Well, I think we give a lot of lip service to it, but I'm not sure that students actually get as many chances to apply it as are needed. We know that they become leaders and they become confident, and they generate solutions when they can understand the problems. But if they only look at things from their perspective, or from the perspective of their teachers who may be teaching dated information, then they cannot be as effective as if they are really engaging and understanding the problem from many different perspectives, and consulting real credible sources.
Sure. Yeah, credible sources is one of the key points in the modern world. Yes, we'll probably come back to that particular point during this debate, during this discussion. Don, what do you think? What is, in your opinion, the most important set of competences for the global students?
I think one very interesting article I read was that something like 85% of the jobs that will be available in 2030 still haven't been invented yet. So people are working on things that are still yet to be invented, and looking for jobs that are still not ready, and we don't know what they're to be done. So that's really interesting, and it's kind of frightening as well. I'm gonna focus on soft skills. I'm a great proponent for soft skills. So all of these jobs will need to be fulfilled and to be done, but at the core of it is the person, and I think it's the person that we can still tap into and teach and show and train and highlight competencies.
It's interesting what you're saying, but of course you realize that artificial intelligence will come into our lives very dynamically, and perhaps an individual will be, in a way, well, eliminated sounds badly, but there will be a lot of redundant people. Basically, that's what they say.
That's right. So what are we going to do with our spare time then?
You know what? I have very interesting statistics. They're coming from UNESCO. And what happens?
If you can see me, I apologize. I'm cutting out.
Oh.
Let me sometimes. I'm not able to hear all of you sometimes.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that there is a very interesting a report from the UNESCO, and they are saying that by 2030, we will have the lack of 69 million teachers. So even though we feel that there is a possibility that artificial intelligence, or technology as well, of course there will be bringing the change, but also we've got that that prediction. On the other hand, with my students of IB geography, we discuss the Sustainable Development Goals. So there are still 263 million children that have no access to education. So can you see what is happening? The gap, between even the children, and
will grow
is widening. Plus, okay, nowadays we are talking also about the quality of education, right?
Yeah. By the way, isn't that a disgrace that this gap, instead of shrinking, it's getting bigger and larger with all the equipment, with all the instruments that are available to civilized societies?
Yeah. I think, and this virus has kind of highlighted that, hasn't it? With a lot of homeschooling going on, you suddenly realize that some children, they don't have a laptop or even internet access. And that's quite sad to understand right at this moment in time.
All right. Amy?
So, I can speak from my experience as a diplomat with regarding the skill set that I think is really vital in my field, but I think it also applies to careers in, foreign relations and within the global realm. So really to many, many professions. So, as it's been mentioned before, this ability to understand different cultures, cross-cultural communication is really, really essential. So I think, and if you kind of dig further into that, within communication, I think the ability to understand different languages, to be able to communicate in different language, I think will still be incredibly important in the future, regardless of all the new technologies and Google Translate and AI coming onto the scene. I think there are some functions that machines will just never be able to replace. And that's particularly true in diplomacy, where it's really about human connections and communication. So I think the skill sets that are extremely vital for today's youth are going to be communication, which is both verbal and written communication, and then what goes along with that is public speaking. So I think it's a really critical skill that I think should be taught really even at the elementary grades.
But you do it very well in the United States. You actually teach children how to speak publicly very, very well. You can be a pattern for many other countries.
Yes, I would agree with that. There's a big emphasis on students presenting during class. We try to move away from just kind of a lecture format in universities, where actually the students are more involved and they're presenting. And they get to exercise those public speaking skills. Yeah.
All right. Alina, Deja-Grygierczyk.
Yeah, so
what
probably
does Berlin have to say about that?
How about Berlin? How is that?
Yeah.
Well, it's a kind of a broad question. First of all, I have to tell you that I'm going to speak from my experience of taking, students to Canada. The first thing that I notice is that though we have, some teaching about leadership, let's say, that leadership is a human exercise, sometimes the kids, when we take them to Canada, where they are really getting the first-hand experience what human leadership is, and it's an exercise, this is not like a theory, is that they are afraid. I mean, they are not able to communicate. They are not able to ask questions. They are just silent sometimes. So I do agree with Anya.
Why is that?
Yeah. I think that's the fear, first of all, and they're not able to create and to put into practice, create a kind of an environment for themselves and for the other people to make themselves happy and the other people happy. And because I work with some leaders from Canada, and we do communicate all the time how to change that, I do agree with Anya. First of all, it's definitely adaptability, it's flexibility, and how to adapt to leaders. I mean, to the people that you want to lead, or to the needs of your followers. That's definitely given. However, I would also say that this is the thing that I notice in Berlin right now, because the schools are opened here right now, that the students are suffering from the lack of social contact. I mean, the social distancing is not disconnecting. So I would definitely put a lot of emphasis also on the communication, because for some people, I see that online education, or even if we talk right now, that this is something virtual, right? And they have to know that leadership, human leadership, either it's virtual or not, it's still leadership.
Okay,
so
can I just
if we talk,
on that particular point, because leadership has been taught for basically forever, by various schools in different countries, this way or another. What, or should we change anything in particular in this process of learning or teaching how to become a good leader, how to become a leader for the future with all the challenges that the future brings? And anybody, we can just sort of exchange.
I can say something that it's still a mystery. I had a talk yesterday with Bobby, with one of my advisors, and he said that in Canada right now it's a mystery. They have no idea what they're going to do, but what they're going to focus right now is that they're going to really focus on adaptability and how to adapt the changes. So how to prepare the students to have a different life. Because the thing that when it comes to, for example, I don't know, like schools or business, the students are working also all the time. Yeah. They have the online classes and they work fully. So they go to groceries. That's a kind of that was news for me. They go to groceries and they have the online classes. So, you know, business survived. It's not the first time that, you know, business people, they have to reinvent themselves. In fact, we had streaming, you know, video worlds. We have no longer the place where we can borrow DVDs. We have internet. So business will survive. We have to reinvent themselves.
Okay.
Right.
All right. So we've got relearning. That's what Ania Krzemińska said before. We've got a lot of you saying adaptability is important. We've got this skill or competence of complex problem solving, so sort of cross branch thinking. And we've got an emphasis on cooperation, especially in global terms. So we've identified the skills. Unless you would like to add something to the list, Ania, I can see you nodding. You probably want to say something more on that.
Because the thing is that we have forgotten, you know, about being a critical thinker. This is so important, and we are going to organize our seminar on the 20th of June, where actually Miss Allyson Daly will be talking about the fake news. Okay, how critically also, okay, read and go through the articles, etc. Okay, about the world, okay, that is happening around us. But one thing, I also teach IB students, as I mentioned. Okay, they do have so-called IB learner profile, and over there, it's so important to be inquisitive, to be knowledgeable as well. Okay, and to be a critical thinker. I think the good leader must be aware and must have a very, very high level of emotional intelligence. This is what we cannot get nowadays. We can see, okay, how difficult it is, okay, with the students and also with us, you know, adults.
Is it at all possible to teach emotional intelligence, in your opinion?
Well, we can provide opportunities for students to exercise it. I mean, if we stay in isolation, we don't learn it as much well as if we get our students in situations where they have to identify needs in a community or in the world and then work to meet those needs. So if we provide those opportunities and we mentor them along the way, they often do pick up those skills. And so that's why there are things like leadership programs that last, you know, a year or two. Or, you know, sometimes capstone projects where students have to work through a process and then they present at the end what their findings are. And often those findings are things that are both about the problem, but they're also about self-discovery.
That's right. So if I may add something, when we take students to Canada, it's a challenge for them. And they really have to adapt to a lot of institutions, and it's a challenge. So what we do, we make them write journals, and they always have to work on their personal awareness and how they developed. And then they have to, you know, think about the facts about their life and about their like experiences. They have to look back at that comment.
Is that the leadership program you were talking about?
Yeah, it's also, I mean, like in Canada, I don't know what about the United States. I'm not an expert here, but a lot of schools, and that would be my dream to have it in Poland, and that they have leadership courses. So there are leadership teachers, and they do analyze every week. They have like 3 or 4 times, you know, a gathering or meeting. They have a leadership teacher, and they do analyze what they did. They analyze, what they did at home, what they did at school, how about the communication with their friends. And they do a lot of, they call it like self-reflection and working on their personal awareness and debriefing. This is what they work on. And it's great because I, as the business person, I do it too. So I wake up at 4 or 5, I write my own journal, and it helps me to develop myself.
All right. Okay. I'd like to come back just for a moment. Anya said about fact checking as an important skill, honestly crucial skill. And perhaps that's also a question to Amy. You just mentioned a few points on how diplomacy changed and how the skills that are required for diplomacy are changing, and that is in fact true in the post WikiLeaks diplomacy, where we have a great wave of fake news, where we have organized misinformation campaigns. It's a bit of a different diplomacy today than it used to be 20, 30 years ago, isn't it?
Right, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, the diplomacy of the past was really between nation states, just, official government interactions with other official governments. And now, thanks to the all the advances of technology, we have stories and media coming in from lots of different sources, citizen journalism, Facebook, Twitter, you name it. And I mean, overall, I think this is a positive development, but it's also come with some potentially very dangerous and negative side effects, and that's the spread of false information, false narratives, propaganda, disinformation. So exactly. I think it's really critical that we teach our youth from a very young age how to think critically, as Anya said. Media literacy is becoming an increasingly important component of education. And I think along with that, it's encouraging students to discover a variety of information sources. So, where do you get your information from? You have to look broadly. You have to be responsible sometimes for fact checking, right? Because we can't necessarily rely on the big media giants to do it for us.
I'm not sure whether it's being systematically taught in all countries now. Maybe you will tell me because you're experts on that. But are students taught how to distinguish between facts and lies, frankly speaking, or not? Or is it still besides the major educational path at school?
It's a major part of my curriculum. We have to teach students to differentiate between sources, whether they are scholarly or popular, and then put them up on a test. How authoritative is this author? Where is this published? Is it published for an audience of general readers, or is it published for scholars? Yeah. And students have to, they are often surprised by what they find because so many websites look legitimate. And then they may have they may be soliciting, are there advertisements? Is it bright and shiny and trying to get your attention? Does it have clickbait on it? And those kinds of questions open up that discussion, but they still have to dig. And often, students like shortcuts, so they want to find something that's quick. Yeah. And that's the challenge. Right.
Okay, let me just quote a few comments from our viewers. Katarzyna Łaziuk says we should show students that cooperation works better than competition. Quite a good remark, especially after a long period of thriving capitalism. Another comment from Jemda Simsek: as technology develops, as Agnan said, the digital field is taking the place of human communication, and this affects the self-confidence of young people. That's interesting. Have you noticed that? Have you noticed what I have just read, that it sort of undermines the confidence of young people? Don, you're running a theatre company, and lots of young people come to you, don't they?
Yeah, and I think I have noticed that we also do workshops in schools where we build on students' confidence and building their confidence and covering presentation skills, etc. And sometimes having a young person stand up in the classroom and talk to the rest of their peers is really quite a challenge for an awful lot of students, because we are so insular and so used to looking down at our screen and connecting with our screen all the time, rather than having our head up and connecting and hearing what's going on in the world. So I think that is a challenge, Greg, yes.
Okay, Marta, would anybody else like to comment on that particular thing?
If I may, I have that experience that students, need to have an experience. As Amy said, whenever I go to the United States, our students have an opportunity to be on stage, to even have little social talks whenever even they go to the shop, etc. So that is so important, okay, to talk face to face, to understand, okay, that the interaction is very, very important. To express yourself is very important. We have to learn those techniques. And when I went to the United States for the first time, and when I saw those little classrooms with a little stage, I was really, really impressed. So this is what we have to learn. Technology is needed, of course. They are much faster than we are. Each generation can even help us, and I can see on my experience that they're really, really quick, and they are really, really handy as well. So that is good. But I'm trying to use also technology. For example, since the lockdown started, we organized a mindful student, a mindful live meeting. So about global education, I'm a great zealot of global education. And what we did, we invited over great speakers, trainers, etc., to have the workshop delivered to my students. And there is a problem whether you are going to have your camera on or not. So after a very short period of time, the students were saying, we would like to see the faces, okay? We are missing them, okay? So you can talk on the phone, but still, okay, you can feel the difference whether you are going to have the FaceTime or you are going to just use the regular phone call. So that is definitely the challenge. I would like to, if I may, go back to leadership, because you have asked about the leadership, okay? And Ian Tyson was also an honorable guest in my school from Canada, and he told the students, okay, if you want to be the leaders, because this is what my students were asking them, okay, how to be the leader in this lockdown. And he said something very important. If you want to be the leader, just turn the camera on, be visible, invite other students as well to be fair towards the teacher who is on the other side, who prepares classes, try to interact, okay? So we can do little things and that really are going to make a big difference. So that is so important.
May I ask all of you something? Yesterday, I talked with Bobby, with my second advisor, and he told me that the first thing that they're going to do at their school is that they're going to slow down with education. They're just going to slow down. So he said that sometimes it's very good just to interact. So that's the thing that I noticed when I take students to Canada, that European students, for example, Polish students, they are so highly educated and they focus on the knowledge, like hard skills, and learning. And this is what Aya mentioned, right? That they're not able to talk with people, they're not able to interact. So on the other hand, Canadians, they're like, wow, the students are so educated. We are less educated, than the Polish students. So what the Polish students learn is like leadership, and all the things that Anya mentioned, and they're impressed with our skills. So what I would suggest, I don't know if this is possible, but globally, we have to slow down sometimes with education. Right?
Yeah, well, you are experts. You tell me how to find an equilibrium in that,
We can Google everything.
A bit of Canada to Poland and to export a bit of Poland to Canada.
Well, it's not so easy.
Ania Krzemińska's got an idea. I can see that.
I just wanted to say that I believe that education is interaction and also building the relation. Okay, so as I mentioned, IB curriculum is quite demanding. Students really need to put a lot of effort, okay, to have that effectiveness in testing, as you said. But also testing and having a test society comes from like 18th century, okay? If we're going
to be abandoned.
Right. So that's another story, right? Okay. What the teachers did, okay, during online learning, okay. Some people, okay, were no way, I'm not going to test the students, right? Look what IB board did, okay. They canceled actually the final diploma exams, okay, because they felt that now, okay, we need to support actually the students, right?
Okay.
This is what we need. So that's a different story. But Yes.
Can I just add to whatever you said, because I'm sorry if I mispronounce your name, Kana Badwai Mishra. Technology, saying that technology is changing the face of communication. It is creating a gap between generations, and teachers will need to learn this new kind of communication in order to reach out to students. Do you think that teachers are not well prepared for teaching students the new 21st century skills?
Well, Anna received multiple responses from teachers and educators around the world asking about COVID-19. And one of the funniest ones that I read was from a principal in India who said that COVID-19 has done what principals all over the world could not do: make teachers more confident with technology. So I think that it has been a challenge to transition from seated classes to online learning. But when there's a crisis and you have to do it, you get better. We may not be there all the way yet, but we have improved, I think. We can't negate that, as Dawn said, that there are some students that we have to be concerned about, that they may not have the technology to participate. So new challenges arise, but we have made progress in a short space of time.
Can I chime in?
Of
Yes.
course.
So in my line of work, part of my objective is to share American culture with Polish audiences, and we do that, usually through a variety of programs face to face. We bring American musicians here to perform. We have American experts who come here and give lectures. So COVID has really kind of forced us to think creatively about how we can continue to engage with our audiences remotely and online. So we've been doing a lot with Zoom, a lot with online technology. And it's been beneficial in the sense that we can reach more people than we have in the past, right? That's the beauty of technology. You can be broadcast into thousands of homes. But the real challenge is, how do you make that interaction as meaningful as it is in person? And I think that's something that we're still, working on and trying to find ways to really, how do you really connect with somebody through a screen? So I think this is one of the challenges that will that will confront all of us as we look to really adapt more technology and incorporate that into our communication.
Absolutely.
But I haven't.
Yeah, Anya.
Yeah, because I have an impression that we also have to unlearn the technology that we use and follow a new trend, okay, and see what our students are using, how they are reacting into it. What I also, recently did with my students, we just signed up for the global lesson, and we could participate, okay, with our IB geography students in a very nice fieldwork. So that was really amazing experience. We can use it also in geography. Whenever we start the lesson, I give, different examples to the students. For example, let me think. We were sightseeing and going to see the wall in China, virtually, of course. Okay, so this is a great opportunity for us. Of course, there are threats. Okay, I'm so pleased that I have an opportunity to take part in the summit, international summit in Pompano Beach High School, Florida. So thank you very much, Mr. Hudson Thomas, for having me and my group over there. And there are experts coming from Microsoft. And what they are also saying, that technology, okay, connected with VR is also not quite friendly, let's put it this way, okay, for the students below 14. So that is a challenging one, okay, how to create also the good policy that our children and students are safe, because we can just enjoy, we can have fun, but also we have to think about that.
Do you think our respective countries, the United States, Canada, Poland, is there enough done about it by the governments and by the institutions responsible for it, for the young people to feel safe and then give them a chance to thrive in it, to use this new technology? Amy, perhaps?
Yeah, I mean, it's in the US, we have a very unique system because, we have the federal government, and then, of course, you have state and local governments that govern education differently. I think that technology is becoming a much greater part of the classroom in general. My hope is that, one day every child in the US has their own iPad, and not only the actual tool to be able to connect and utilize this technology, but I think that the government, be it federal or state or local, should also take responsibility for teaching us safe practices online. And that gets back to what we were saying before about the identifying misinformation, but also, just being a savvy internet user and protecting yourself from, predators or those who might try to harm you. So it's, it's a complicated issue, but I still believe overall that
I'm asking this question because obviously educational systems are tailored, are thought up by governments and at the end of the day by politicians. That's why I'm asking. Anya.
Yes, from the Polish perspective, I think that there is a growing gap because I have an honor to work with Principal Valigura, who is always pushing us to the higher standards. He has made actually also us to work really coherently, and the feedback as well on online learning is very, very positive. But for example, I'm not quite pleased with the fact that we can open the Zoom and just click and see each other. Okay, for me it's not enough. So what I can feel, that we really, really need e-learning platform. We use from time to time, for example, the platform like a Moodle platform. But I know that in America, you've got impressive Blackboard Learn. This is a virtual learning environment and also learning management system, right? You got it, and it works really, really well. So I would suggest and really, really appeal to, kind of politicians as well, that it is not enough. It is not enough that the kid has a laptop, okay? Someone has to guide the kid. Someone has to teach how to do it. Even though, on the opposite side, that there are examples of great technology development, like one laptop per child, a very, very famous world project, when the kids, of having no actually technology, being not technologically equipped, they were able to discover everything by themselves, on the laptops and be successful. But still believe, that a coherent strategy and management strategy for IT and IT at schools, are really required.
And parents will have to be partners with that too, because so much of the time now, this learning is happening at home. So, enclosed spaces like Moodle or Blackboard allow teachers to put everything in one place, and they can deposit, resources there that parents can trust.
Yeah, that's another question which I think is quite important. How to make adults more sensitive to what their children might need in the future. That's another story, and perhaps and Allyson, you're laughing at it, but
my children, I had no idea what they knew how to do when they were teenagers, and I just was really not equipped, and I think so many of us are not, because our generation didn't have all these things in our pocket, and our children do. So. These are, how do we have a question?
We've got a sort of comment which disappeared instantly.
Yes, it did, just as I was reading it.
Well, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. You can place it there. Yeah, okay.
Good.
All right. Any other? I think Olga is writing. I think it is of particular significance to emphasize the importance of developing the writing skills of global students. Could you express some ideas about this, ladies and gentlemen? Could you please?
Yeah, I'd
yes. Well,
go ahead, Don.
Okay, Amy first, then Don. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, so absolutely. I mean, in my initial remarks, I mentioned the importance of communication, both verbal communication and written. So even as we move into the digital realm, written communication is still extremely important. And I think writing, we need to teach our students how to write clearly, persuasively, factually. These are all very important skills that I think, and that is absolutely something that cannot be replaced by AI or robots. So I think, again, it's important to emphasize that early on in education, and especially at the college level. I'm probably Allyson can speak to some of the introduction writing courses that are required for most university students. So I hope that emphasis continues.
All right, thank you very much. Don?
No, I'd just like to add to what Amy has said, because I think also in this day and age, it's predictive texting, isn't it? That we don't need to finish off the words, and we use 2 letters to describe 1 word or something. So we're not even seeing the flow in a thought process for a person to actually write and communicate their idea within a writing capacity. And I think, it's really important, again, coming down to writing and structure.
Right, we're almost there, ladies and gentlemen. I just wanted to ask you a very general question. When you think about the future, when you think about your students, about what they know, what kind of skills they possess at the moment, and what they need for the future, are you optimistic or not so much?
Always optimistic. They come with such energy and joy, and when they are learning and they feel it's authentic, it's a pleasure to watch them grow. It's mainly our job to mentor them along the pathway and present challenges that are real and ask them to grow. And then it's fun to watch them do it.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Allyson. I mean, honestly, I'm happy. COVID-19 offered new opportunities. What I would say, of course, we need to human up, but I could say that they will have the ability to learn something new, to work on their personal awareness. I mean, on anything new. So it's a great skill, in fact. And I would never say that optimism, this is something good. I mean, positive. We are not blind. We shouldn't be blind leaders, right? So we have facts, we know how to work on that. But still, it's a great new future that we're going to build. New companies going to be created.
All right. Anya, what's your parting message for tonight?
Yes, I do love what the director of London School of Economics said. Maybe you have heard. He said that in the past, jobs were about muscles. Now they are about brains. And in the future, they will be about the heart. That's the reason, the global education also helps students to understand that they have to keep the balance, because we have to shape a better shared future, right? So this is so much needed. And now I would like to also invite everyone, students, teenagers, age 14 plus, who love global education, who love interaction, who understand that nature matters as well. Because look what happened during the lockdown, Only nature could save us, right? So that is so important. So on the 20th of June, we are going to organize the webinar, one-day webinar. It's called Strengthening Academic Engagement Program. You will have a pleasure to participate in a workshop, because everyone has enough of talking heads. And also what I do like in this program that we have an honor to organize is the program that is called Instant Motivation, American program. And students can learn how to do the things, because parents sometimes complain how to push my kid into the proper direction. So this is important, to show them how to find out why you are doing certain things, why you are not doing certain things. So I think that was also the perfect time to redefine your education and your goals.
All right. I'm not sure. I lost you for a second. I'm not sure if you lost me, but I was trying to communicate. I was trying to communicate with you, sort of helplessly, but finally we're back together. Just to bid everyone farewell. Thank you very much. Unless somebody would like to add something at the very, very end. Okay. So there's a lot. It seems to me that there's a lot to be done to get prepared for the future, which of course, sounds and is exciting, but at the same time, it is, and it follows from what you said as well, quite challenging. We'll keep track on that, and we'll probably come back to this kind of discussion, not once, nor twice, more than that. So thank you very much for today. Again, Amy Steinmann, Allyson, Daly, Don Allen, Anna Krzemińska-Kaczyńska, and Alina Deja-Grygierczyk. Thanks very much for today, and a very good evening.
Thank you. Well done. Thank you for your job. Thank you.